Welcome to People Love Process. Back in 2021, I created a simple, iconic illustration every day for the whole year. It was a bit stressful at times to make sure I got one done every day, so usually the way I handled it is I'd wait till I was inspired and create 3 or 4 days worth of designs, but every day I posted a different one. And ultimately, it was a rewarding creative experience that people seemed to enjoy and follow along the whole year. So at the end of that year, I had a grand total of 374 designs. Now, every year since, I've added to the collection. So now there's over 400 designs total. And if you want to see all of those, you can go to my website, and I have a page that just shows you all those designs. But I thought adding to that collection again this year, I would make as a movie for this channel again. And that's what we're going to go over in this one. So with that said, let's jump into it. And the first place I want to jump is one of the things I included in the exercise files for this particular content is my drawing grid. Now, if I turn this sketch off here, this is all this grid is. I have an 8.5 by 11 sheet, horizontal, and it has a total of, I think, 6 or 8 of these on the sheet. And it just allows you to draw. It can still be a rough drawing, because if I turn on this sketch, I brought this into Photoshop, the sketch, and I distorted it to fit my template, and I'm going to build on it. Now, this layered PSD has all the sketches I did here. Ultimately, I am going to build this, but it's going to be part of a time lapse at the end of this movie. So you'll want to wait for that at the very end, and you can watch that, and you'll see this one built as well, but it'll only take about 28 seconds or so, because I turned it into a time lapse. Now, we have this one, Sir Templeton. The reason why I'm showing you all these is I want you to pick whichever one that you think would be fun to build, and take the methods that I'm going to showcase in this movie and build it out yourself. Now, to help assist you in that is I've also created a step-by-step PDF guide that's also in the exercise files, and I'll show you that before we jump in to the point where you get to see the time lapse of this design being built. So there's Sir Templeton. You could even build out Tri-Eye if you want to. We have Snork. We have one called Blossom, more female-oriented. She's like a flower of sorts. And we have Chuck. I don't know why I called him Chuck. I always try to give names to these, and this guy just kind of looked like a Chuck to me. And the one I like is a term that I got from a British friend of mine, because he's used it, called chuffed, and I thought that deserved to have a character of his own. So this is the one I'm going to build, and because I have my PSD placed into Illustrator, if we went into Illustrator right now, it'd be showing this, because that's the last time I saved it with that one layer turned on. But we're going to turn that off and have Chuff turned on, and I'm going to go ahead and just save this. That way it'll update when we get to Illustrator. So that's where we're going to switch now. We're going to switch over to Illustrator. So let's go ahead and do that. We'll go to Illustrator. We're in Illustrator. You can see it wants to update. We'll say yes. This shows a lot of my favorite designs out of those 374, or over 400 now. Some of my favorite ones I created, and the themes are all over the map. The genre is all over the map. We're talking weird mythoric lore, like Trimurti is one of them. I read something about that, and it's this 3-faced entity, and I go, well, that'd kind of be a cool one. Or I thought of a warrior. Of course, Star Wars ended up in here. We did a Tusken Raider. I had a pug growing up named Hanker, and so I decided to do a pug. I like sea turtles, so I did a sea turtle. We did all kinds of ones. Animals is a common theme, so if you come up with your own idea, you don't even have to build the ones I suggest. You can just You can just grab one of those if you don't want to draw out a design and try the methods to build your own, or you can draw out your own and then build it using those same methods. So, and by the way, if you do that, make sure to send it to me. I'd like to check out what you created. Now, of course, all of these can be used for stickers. You can do patterns with them. Here's some license tiles I created. They're part of a line that goes to different kind of interior decorator kind of trade shows. It's my hope, and this is kind of me dreaming here, but I think like a children's museum, let's say it's LA Children's Museum, Los Angeles Children's Museum, I could see them having a wall in the children's art museum that has a tile of all these walls, and there's two of every design, and the kids have to find out where the other tile for the toucan is, or the salmon here, or the sun, and kind of do a pairing match type thing. I think that'd be fun. In the exercise file, again, is a drawing template. So this is what I use to draw out all my ideas over that period of time and since that time. And so it all starts with the sketch. Here's my sketch. You know, this has been scanned in. And we're going to build on this layer. And you can see I just have two squares turned on. But we're just going to select the sketch, go to transparency. I'm going to set it to 20%, like that, just so we can see it. And I'll lock that layer. Don't need that layer on. And I'm going to build on the build layer. Now, in terms of, this is pretty small on a 8.5 by 11. If we go back to this is 8.5 by 11 horizontal. So we build at a pretty small size. Why is that? It's just because that's where I started at, and it worked good, and I just stuck with it. So it's not that it's mandatory to build at this size. You could build this kind of artwork at any size you want. I just did it at this size in proportion, specifically to assure that the entire set, every piece in that set, regardless of the theme or context or genre I'm trying to capture, is going to match each other. So we're going to focus on this, and I'm going to start with, we'll go ahead and grab this just to define our style, and I'm going to start with the rectangle, because basically that's what's going to make up his body and his head, something like that. We can use a corner widget to get the round on the top of his head. I'll go all the way down to where I think it'll start going over to his feet. And by the way, it's same on either side, so I'll probably build these out, then reflect them over, vice versa. We'll see how it works out. And this is where I tend to use a tool that doesn't get a lot of love anymore because of the shape builder tool, and that is the scissor tool. I still use it to cut paths like that because that's all we need there. And actually, you know what? I shouldn't have done that so quick. I'm going to go ahead and take this shape. I've cloned it. And I'm going to go down. And by the way, these, I'm not building at the size. At this size, these strokes will be 4 points. So you do want to test them. That's part of the instructions I did, because I made the mistake of building, thinking, okay, that looks good. But when I go to the final size, and in this build file, there's this style that sets it at 4. So that's pretty good. That I might even make it just a little bit taller. I think that'll look better. We'll do that. I'll clone this. Bring it down here. This will be the bottom lip. Oh, you can see I didn't close that. Let's close that. Let's close that. Command J. Like that. I'm just going to make the interior of the mouth. And I think something right about there. I think I'm getting too close, whereas these are 2 4s. This would be too tiny of a space. So we'll do that. I'll select this. I'll go minus front. They'll knock out the mouth. These I think will be fine right where they're at. So I'll select these and unite those together. Now we can check this again. I think those look fine. We'll add that round in there. I think one thing I'm going to do, go like this. I think I'm going to move this over just a little, like that. And I'm going to take you might be going, what are you doing? What's that? Well, I just wanted to make sure it aligned, so I snapped it to that side. Then I'm going to bring it over here. I'm going to select this, and we'll use the corner widget. I'll select this, and then I just want to make that bottom part here. And this is where I like building separate lines, because on this one, I'm going to go to stroke, and we're going to round cap it, because that looks nicer. On some of these, we might want to go around corners so it doesn't get into a dagger sharp point here or here. It just looks a little more elegant. You don't always want to do that, but I think in this case, we do want to do that here. And I don't like building at this certain size. I'll set that eventually. I just like being able to see my drawing better. So we'll build his ear. I'm going to turn this one back into a smaller shape so I can see his ear here. I'm going to start this here. I'm going to try building this with all straight lines. I think it's doable. He kind of has floppy ears. I'll do this so I can grab these and then snap it like that. Okay, we'll see how smart that was, because we'll add a round. This is where I'd probably use, you could use the corner widget, but I'm going to use dynamic corners like this, because I want to use the same rounding. This would be bigger. Oops, not that one. Want to add that smaller. Kind of like that. We'll do the corner widget on this. And we can do the corner widget on that. And we can do this one. I think that looks pretty, that actually looks better than I thought it would. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this here and cut that, because we don't need this piece. It'll go right into that ear shape. This will just terminate there. We don't need the anchor handles. And on this one, I'll select these two, go to the shape builder tool, hold Option down, and trim the one that goes over like this. So this is still an independent shape. I did that so I can clone it. Command C, Command F. Go to a central point, the guide here, flip it over so we get the ear to the other side. And then we can drag this down till we hit an anchor here. Then we can select these two, go to the shape builder tool, hold Option down, trim off the part overlapping. And I think that looks good. We can select these two, use the shape builder tool to get rid of that part that goes behind the ear. Then we can save this. I just realized this is no longer a closed shape. Well, I could do this. That's not a big deal. I could close it temporarily. Oopsie, it's trying to snap to that other one. So we'll go into isolation mode when that happens. So we only focus on this. And we'll close it. Then we can take this ear shape, take this one, unite it. That way it looks the way it should. Double click into isolation mode. Go back to the scissor tool. Cut these two. Get rid of what we don't need. And as the British say, since we're doing a chuff character, Bob's your uncle. We'll go back to this. I'm going to put a little segment. I should probably check this. So we'll check this with the weight we're doing, which is 4 points. That looks good. This, we'll put the round corner on it because I think it just looks better. This one, do that. And this one needs the round corner to get that little subtle round. And if you think it needs even more, then we'll just use the corner widget to make that larger, like that. Maybe this a little shorter. I'll nudge that using the nudge keys on my keyboard. I think that looks pretty good. We'll go ahead and fill that one, or set the size on that. And I think that's looking fine. Let's do his face. We'll zoom in. These I call them tombstone shapes. All I mean is, like, you can start with the square. That's a little thick. This is why I like building it a thinner. You know, I'm trying to figure out the size, and if you're not sure exactly, just make a triangle, clone it, Command-C, Command-F. Snap it over, duplicate it again, select all of them, and you can see we're a little wider than we should be. So I can bring this over and snap it until it's right there. And I think that should be better. I think ultimately this will be like the pinky toe, so we'll make that smaller. Make this a little smaller. I just don't want them to be exactly the same. Then if we select all of them, let's check the thickness, see if it's too close to the ear. No, I think that looks okay. So this is where I like isolation mode, because I can double click into it, and on these I can click those, delete that one, click out, click back in. And I like building in pieces. It just makes the whole process go faster and easier. But here's the thing. I don't need this all the way down here. I can get rid of that because this one will come down like that. And this one, I don't need this to come all the way down. I just need it to come down far enough to hit this anchor. And so that's all I need to do here. Then I can take this one. We'll have this come all the way down like this. I can go ahead and take this one, come all the way down to the corner. I'll continue it over like this. Figure out what angle. I'm just guessing. I might end up changing this, but we'll eyeball it and see how it goes. Like that, to kind of get the leg, top of the leg there, like this. This is square, but we don't want it square, but we use the corner widget to get the bottom of his foot, like that. I'm going up here just to snap on it. Go down here. Go like this. I want this to align with these toes up above, so I'll drop a guide in there. And then this, I'll drag down, corner widget this to get the bottom of his foot. And I think on this one, we can double click into isolation mode. Cut these because I don't need this bottom one, like that. Go here. I'm a little zoomed in. Let's zoom out. This foot was easier than I thought it was going to be. Like that. I think that looks pretty good. I think these toes are a little long. The indents are. I think that looks better. It's what I had in my drawing pretty much anyway. So that looks good. I think the hardest part on this is these fingers. I'm kind of making a decision on the fly. Well, one thing I have to do before I do that. Oops. Go to the corner widget, dynamic corners. I'm going to remove that because I think I'm going to end up needing more space for these fingers. I knew this would be the hardest part to build on this design. Let's drop a guide down here because I want this to be the same height. Oops. Set the thickness. And now figuring out these hands. Let's see. I'm going to use the line segment tool. I'm just following these since I can snap to them like that. Then bring it over. I'm looking at these interior weights here. I think this is a little thick, so it's going to be something like that. Again, I'm just guessing or eyeballing it, I guess you can say. It's not that bad. Let me see if I can get this to work. You know what? Even though I'm working the latest version of Illustrator, there's still a snapping bug because it's not wanting to snap on this path. So even though they said they fixed it, apparently there's still some issues. See how this one snaps, but when I was dragging that anchor, it didn't snap? That's kind of what I'm talking about. I guess that really shouldn't surprise me because they say a lot of things are fixed at times, and then I work in Illustrator so much, I run into stuff just more than most people, I think, and when they say it's fixed and I try it and I'm 5 minutes into using the new version, I'm like, yeah, that's not fixed. What? Why is that doing that? Oh, duh. Okay. My bad. Let's cut that. Go into this one. Just temporarily we'll close this shape. Now I'm looking at these interior shapes. This one's okay. This one's a little too thin. This one's too fat. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to kind of eyeball this, match. That looks okay. This one. Okay, let me get rid of this piece down here we don't need. Now, the ultimate test, rounding them. I think that's actually gonna work. I can cut this here, cut this here, get rid of that. Exit. That one finger is just kind of bugging me. Maybe it's just that I have it too long. Maybe it just doesn't need to be that long. Doesn't have to go to the edge, I guess. Yeah, I like that better. Okay. Select these two, go Command J. We don't need this anchor, get rid of it. Okay, now we can go back to this one and re-round it. We have that figured out. Oh, I just noticed something I forgot. We have to do his teeth still. Put that little lip there. Do his eyes. We got most of the heavy lifting done. This, like this, select this. Clone it. Find a central anchor point. We'll do it here. Flip over his feet. Now I don't need this whole one, so I'll just delete that. We just need this bottom part here. The less overlap, the less potential for redundant anchor points. Just that. Okay, let's make another tombstone shape. And by the way, if you start with a square, if you don't have plugins, you want to start with the square. I usually like doing circles, even though I haven't been in this, because I wanted to try to stick to as much non-plugin material as I can. But just to show you, even though there's a circle, where's a corner? Well, this could be a corner, and I could pull it out. That's why I like having plugins, because I prefer doing it that way. Adobe's engineers got too specific. It's a circle. It doesn't have any corners. Period. The end. Well, it could. It doesn't need to be that way. So we'll give them a nice little snout. I think the only part of this design that won't be a stroke will be the eyes. Let's get rid of the stroke. Just make it a fill. Like that. And I think we're going to zoom in because I want to put, and this is the one thing that I've only done a few times in a couple of them where I violate my aesthetic and sizing. Whereas this one, I want to have these white highlights here. So I'll take that, reflect that over to the other one. Then I'm going to clone this, size it, change it to a stroke. and figure out the eyebrow. Select the rectangle, the circle, go to the shape builder tool, hold the option key down. So it just creates the arch over the eyes based off of the circle. I almost think that's too long. So I'll show you another extend path tool by it's part of Vector Scribe. It's kind of cool. So I can just pull this in. It'll just keep the same angle. Pull this in, keep the same angle. So let's zoom out. You know what? I think it's so close to being straight that it might look better straight. So yeah, I think I like that better. One, two. Let's go ahead and align it. And we'll go to Align Palette, align it with the eyes. I think I like that. We're going to borrow his nose because his nose will work for the teeth. Let's just change the size so we can see our drawing a little better. I think it needs to be a bit bigger. Like that. He's going to have a gap. And we'll use the shape builder tool to hold option down and trim the part we don't want. Take all these and I don't want the round cap. I want flat cap. Like that. We're almost there. We'll just take the line segment tool, draw that down, take it here. That'll create that back end. This will ultimately be black. So knowing this would be black, I think this is a little too thin. I'm going to bring it over, knowing we'll have black all in here except for the tongue. So I'll do it, move it right about there. And then you could use elliptical shape, but I'm going to cheat and use my curvature tool by Astute Graphics found in the Subscribe plugin. One of the coolest plugins, and I think we have it. I think that's I don't think I'm missing anything. I think that is going to work. So this is the base vector art. Let's go to our layers here. So what I need to do now is I need to select these. We don't need the outside lines. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go, I'm going to group it and copy it. Go to my X layer and paste it there. Then open up my 200% one. We built it 50% of that. And we'll just paste it here too. And I accidentally brought a guide with me. I'll get rid of that. Let's make sure it's in the center. This is where I'll blow it up 200%. You might be thinking, well, why don't you cannot request transfer? Oh, okay. If you ever run into that, here's this has been in Illustrator since forever. It won't let me scale because it says something will transform off the artboard. So the first place you want to go is go up to View, go up to Guides, and go clear guides. Okay. Then go back, select your artwork, and then double click on the scale tool, select 200%, and go OK. And then it'll work. It shouldn't ever do that. They should be smart enough to get rid of that bug, but that's been a bug forever, and good luck trying to get them to fix it. Okay, so now it's 200%. Now you might be saying, well, why didn't you just build it at 200%? Well, if you want to skip that first stage, that's fine. I just did everything for modern culture this way, and I just prefer it that way because it assures it's going to work at a really small level and a micro and a macro level. So it's just what I did, and I stuck with it, and it's not broken, so why try to fix it if it's working fine? That's kind of why I did it. So all I want to do at this point is I'm going to go ahead and ungroup everything. And this won't be part of the artwork. This is just still guiding our efforts of sorts. So these lines were built at 4. Since we increased it to 200, these are now 8 points. That's what you can expect. The only thing not strokes here are the eyeballs. So the eyeballs don't change when you go into keyline view, but the strokes themselves just are tiny when you go into keyline view. So I just want to point that out. We're just going to select everything minus the two guided rectangular shapes, and we'll deselect the eye shapes here. All of these are strokes, so we'll just go up to Object, we'll go down to Path, and we'll go Outline Strokes. That changes them into all shapes. We can then immediately go to Unite all shapes. That'll fuse them all together. So now these are going to act as one unit. It's like he lost his eye. Ooh, I am in the mood for noodles. Okay, so we go... let's see, where was I? Okay, so now everything is a group. It's going to default to a group nature, not a compound. So you'll want to ungroup it. So we're going to go to ungroup. Well, we can go to ungroup all. You might have to do ungroup. Nope, it did it. And now if I go over here, it's what I do? I didn't mean, okay, it's a group. So let's do this. We'll go to ungroup. And I'm going to go to Compound Path Release. We want to release all those. So things that are like a donut, like the space in between the top of his head and his ear with the weird floppy ear he has. We add like a negative space. It's going to get rid of all those. Now you might have to go ungroup again. Sometimes there will be multiples within there. But in this case, I'm just going to deselect the outermost shape. All these interior shapes I'll color white. Now this will get most of them correct with the exception of the interior shapes within his body. So like on his feet, nose, his eyebrows, inner part of his ear, that won't look correct. So you'll want to go ahead and select these. Actually, I'm going to select his body shapes like this and this shape. And I'm going to cut these, select these, and go Command B to paste them behind. Now all these shapes for his nose and his eyebrows are sitting on top. His ears sitting on top, down here in his feet. These are sitting on top now. You just can't see them because they're colored white. So we'll color those this color, just temporarily. We'll also do his eyes the same color. Why is that? Because everything, his body here, his whole body here, I'm going to color this pretty much the same way. This would probably be, well, that depends. I might color this slightly darker just since it's pushed back a bit, but we'll see. We're going to select the eyes, the eyebrows, the inner part of the ear, his feet. We're going to unite these. Turn it into a compound path, select the body shape, and go minus front. These will now read as fuchsia. So let's go ahead and color this. The color we're going to do, which is black. these shapes, there's enough here that we wouldn't want to, well, now that I'm thinking about it, let's do this. Because we're going to add an outline to this. It's 8 points. Now, the outline for the aesthetic of the whole collection was 20 points. So if this is 8 from the inside shape of color to the outside edge of the entire design is 8 points, and you want 20, that means we have to offset this by 12. So we're going to go object path, we'll go offset, and we'll go 12. This is what all my designs had, this thicker, and that looks good. And because it's that thick, you wouldn't even see these interior lines. So these interior lines, these shapes, aren't going to be needed. So we're just going to select those shapes, like double click into this, get rid of that, go here, here, and here, get rid of that. We don't need this for the inside of the mouth because that'll be black. And I think that's looking pretty good. So we have this shape that we don't really need now. That was just to get to where we're at. We can delete that. And this is where I get to where it's the base black and white. And so this is where I tend to make a copy of this layer. So if you go back to all the hundreds of designs I created, I have the same methodology where the sketch, the base build, the black and white, and now I'm going to do some subtle rounding. So we'll just call it that, subtle rounding. And you can use the corner widget on all this. And all I mean is if I zoom in on areas of this, like here, these come to dagger sharp points. I think it'd look better. So you can use the corner widget. I'm going to use Dynamic Corners by Astute just because I prefer it. To add these kind of rounds, I think this going into that shadow would look better that way. I think on the teeth, since the top of his lip would cast a shadow, we'll add little rounds here to imply that. Like that, maybe a little more here since it's the back part of the mouth, and down here. So it doesn't have to be a lot, but I think it just buttons up a design and makes it look even nicer when it's all said and done. Even down to here where you'd have a shadow being cast by his lip, or a shadow back here where less light would hit. Those are the arguments for the principle of doing this, not necessarily you're trying to be realistic, obviously. You know, we could even go down here and put a little subtle one here. And here, I think it'd look good to have these little ones here, like that. And now, as I'm looking at, this is a weird creature. So if, let's say, I wasn't sure about the size of these, I could go into this and I could start building out a little larger shapes to get his fingers a little bigger if I thought it would look better to do that. And I'd do it this way first to kind of test it. So I knew this would be the hardest part of this whole design, would be getting these to look really good. So I could look at that, and this is a pretty crude mock-up just for me to determine. At this point, I don't think I'm going to worry about it, but it might be an area that as I'm building, there's hundreds of these I've created, and I get to a point and I'd leave it, and then I come back to it later, and I'd ultimately end up doing it. Nobody's going to get bent out of shape over a detail like that, and especially when it's nothing real. It's, this guy's chuffed, so maybe he has frog fingers like this, so who knows. But we're having fun with it, so I'm just going to leave it. The more I look at it, the more I don't mind it. So that's all I'm going to do is add those subtle rounds in. Does that really change up a lot of things? Well, Let's look. Here's without rounds, with rounds. You see how it just, those subtle rounds add some nice aesthetic to the overall design? So that's why I do it. Now, when it comes to color, color can be anything you want. So maybe I want this guy to be more of a turquoise color, maybe not full strength. Maybe he's a lighter hue, like 80%, something like that, maybe 75. There you go. Then you could take this. Maybe this is full color as it's going to the back. Just depends what you want to do. Maybe it'd look good in orange. I didn't even think, oh, I think a lighter color is needed, like yellow. I think I like the yellow. Let's do like an orange on the inside of his mouth. I'm going to mix a new color. We'll just add 40%. I'll give it 5% black. We'll add that color. Always change it to global. I like that. Needs a tongue. That looks good. There's something missing. I'm trying to figure out. And this is the part where, oh, you know what? I just saw an idea. It makes me want to change his color again. So I think I'm going to go with a bluish color, but I want it to be more pale. Something like that. Change it to global. And then I want a pale, darker blue. So usually I add a little black to that just to make it darker. We'll add 20% black. We'll add this swatch. Global, so if I ever change my mind, I don't even have to select the art. I can just select the global color and edit it. Maybe even more. Add a little more red to it. Notice how it changes. Too much red. We'll add 5% black. Like that. The reason why I did that is because I think it would be cool to give him a gold tooth. He's chuffed because he has a gold tooth. Maybe his tongue could be orange. Why not? So this is chuffed. He was a pretty easy one to color. Now, at times in this design style, I've gone in and actually we can do this. Well, I debated whether I should do this. I'll do it on one side and like we'd take elliptical shape, and I was just thinking maybe just a little dot pattern type thing. Like only on the wobbly end of his ears does he have dots. How many? 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, we need one more. Let's do a small one. I don't know if it's the right color. we're experimenting right here. So when you're being creative, nothing's wrong. We'll be like Bob Ross, create happy accidents. Okay, select it, select this, go intersect. Let's see what the dark spots colors. It's a little drab. I think it needs to be more lively. No, maybe white. Or a tint of, or let's change the opacity. Let's go 6. No, that's too much. 45. I like that they're there. They're just a little more subdued. Oops, this tells me this is not. That's not what I was looking for. I'm looking for the appearance palette. Where'd I, oh, there it is. See, it's a group. Okay. I think that's okay. It's a little different. I didn't do that on a lot of art. It usually would have an outline around it, but you know, it's okay. It's different. I'll go ahead and leave it, but that's how Chuff came out. Now, what I want to go over next is just kind of take you through the step-by-step PDF. So when you pick one to create yourself, you can reference it. You can print it out. It's, I think, 10 pages, or reference it in just by having it open as you're working. So let's go ahead. We're going to switch over to Adobe Acrobat. This is the cover, Modern Culture Step-by-Step Guide. So I just take you through the drawing process. I provided the drawing template in the exercise file, as well as I showed you in the build file that we just worked in. And this is be step 1, drawing it. Step 2 is placing it in Illustrator. And I'll go over the commands in this guide. So file, place, set your opacity at 20%, lock the layer you place it on. And then as you build it, when you build it, you can build it at any line size. I like to use smaller ones, and then I test them, in this case, at the smaller size at 4 point to make sure they're working. This was the process I used on all 400 plus designs I've done so far. And it was at this stage that I would test and make sure things were looking right, blow it up to 200%. And as I'm looking at it, I'm always trying to find areas I can improve on. And one thing I noticed about this, I go, wow, his beak kind of looks a little squatty. I think I can fix that. So before I converted it to paths, it's a lot easier to make edits. Like you saw in the hands, where I was second guessing the sizing I had there. It's a lot easier to do that kind of editing or changing directions before you convert all your paths to strokes. So I went back and just adjusted this. So if you look at from where it was and I adjusted it, it looks a lot better. So you always want to be art directing yourself, and then converting them to paths. All this why I build in little shapes, little strokes. I select all of them, and this describes how to go to object path, outline stroke, and then how you can just select everything and unite it using Pathfinder. Once you do that, you can break it out into the shapes that are the black outermost shape, the interior white shapes, and then you'll want to offset the outer shape to match that 20-point aesthetic that Modern Culture is known for. Do all the subtle roundings to improve a design. It just buttons it up, like I said. And then, of course, once you have that on this one, there's a lot more color interplay here because you have a hawk, which doesn't have a lot of distinct colors, so just shades of brown. and the head. And notice on the bald eagle, I didn't make it a stark white on his head. I made it a little off-white. I wanted the eye to be stark because he's being carried off for dinner. It's takeout. That's why I named it takeout. So kind of humor in a lot of these. And then you can use them any way you want. And even if you use my process, that's fine. You create your own. You can use it forever you want. I've created stickers and handed them out at conferences. I've created patterns, as you can see here with this pattern. And of course, manufactured tiles. So a lot of different usages you can do with this type of artwork. So with that said, I'm going to close this out with a fun time-lapse video of me building the tri-eyed guy that I showed you in the initial sketches in the PSD file. So again, if you want to pick another sketch or any of the ones you've seen and build it out yourself, that's fine. If you do that, make sure to share it with me so I can see what you did. Or if you want to create your own, come up with your own idea, draw it out on the template and build that, that's awesome too. That's even better. And make sure to share it with me so I can see what you're doing. So hold around, because we are going to have a time lapse that's only going to be about 28 seconds long, but it's kind of a fun one of the tri guy. In the exercise files, again, I've included my drawing template and step-by-step breakdown of the process that we just went through. And even though I spent a year doing this every day, I tend to forget the smaller insights. So the step-by-step is both for you and myself as well, because I couldn't remember, okay, was it 12 points that the thickness is, or 20? And I had the numbers right, but I got them mixed up in my head because it had been like 6 months since I had done this. So, again, if you create something, make sure to share it. I'd love to see it. Until next time, thank you for watching People Love Process. I hope this content helps you improve your own creative process. Now, enjoy the time lapse.